Let's do a quick video today on setting the eye rings that we sell here at Rocky Mount Materials. I'm going to be using a live eye wood duck eye. It's a 10 millimeter, and then our 10 millimeter wood duck eye ring. One thing that I would like to point out here is sometimes these eye rings don't fit perfect with the live eye just because they were designed with a different eye originally. So what you can do is you can take your scalpel. I've already done it on this one. You can just very carefully clean up the inside of that ring and take away some of the plastic that might be interfering with this eye having a nice correct fit. So I went through earlier, cleaned that up a little bit, got a good fit on that eye, and now I'm ready to set it in our wood duck head. On the live eyes they have this knob on the back. You can go ahead and cut that off. We don't need that. And then I'm going to take some epoxy sculpt that I had mixed up, and I'm just going to put a thin layer here in that eye cavity. And then I'll take my eye and I'll just lightly set it in. And then I'm going to test my eye ring at this point and make sure it's sitting flush against the eye. I'll look at it at a couple different angles. And then once I'm happy with where that's sitting, I'll go ahead and take my epoxy sculpt and we're going to fill in over this flange that's on this eye ring. I want to point out on these eye rings, I see this a lot. The eye ring, the larger piece of tissue on a real eye ring is on the top part of this head. I see a lot of times people are doing the larger portion down here on the bottom and essentially putting the eye rings on backwards. So just make sure that when you set the eye ring that this larger lobe, this larger portion on the eye ring is on the top part, not on the bottom. So I have my eye ring set there. I'm just going to beat up a little bit of my epoxy sculpt and I'm going to go around this eye ring. And this is going to serve two purposes. It's going to help us hold the eye ring in place, and it's also going to give us something to tuck our skin into when we're setting the eye later on. Now if I am doing epoxy sculpt that's mixed up like I am now, I want to be doing this very soon before I'm going to be setting my eye, because we don't want this to set up before we have time to set the eye. So I'll make sure I don't have any of that epoxy sculpt rolling over onto the actual eye ring itself. I just want to be covering the flange. And then at this point, if I were mounting my bird, I'd be ready to pull the skin over the head and start tucking the skin in around this eye ring. Another thing on a wood duck is I typically don't cut off the real eye ring. I use it to tuck in on this artificial head. I've cut off some bigger chunks on the eye ring, but not the whole thing. I try and leave it on. It helps the eye stay a little bit tighter. Otherwise, if you cut that eye ring off, sometimes you have way too much skin, and it just makes it a lot harder to tuck this skin in around the eye ring. So I hope that helps. Pretty simple process, and then you can keep on working away.